And real quick guys, before we get this video started, as always this video is sponsored by Talaria Studios. A lot of you guys are probably already familiar with them as the guys that own and operate sur-ron shop. When I found out that the guys that work at sur-ron shop are also going to be making parts for the Talaria, well, that was ultimate justification for me pulling the trigger on the bike. And they're very good at thinking outside of the box when it comes to parts and upgrades for these bikes. So be sure to check them out guys, link will be down in the description, and let's get back to the video. So guys, in today's video we're going to be changing the oil in our gearbox for our Talaria Sting electric dirt bike. This is really the only major maintenance thing that you have to do with this bike, and it's incredibly easy to do. The bike, when you buy it new, does have a break-in time. After your first 300 kilometers or 180 miles, that's going to be your break-in time. You're going to want to change your oil. Then after that initial oil change, it's only recommended to change the oil in the gearbox every 1,000 kilometers or 620 miles. So the first thing you're going to want to do is take off your bash plate. There are 4 bolts holding it to the frame, 2 on each side. One is located directly under the front of the battery, and then one is located right next to your foot peg. The next step is going to be to take off the cover for the gearbox. There's 2 bolts holding this directly to the motor. One is at the bottom, one is at the top in the corner there, and then the cover will just come right off. Now is a good time to mention that you probably want to have shop towels handy. Alright, so we just revealed the gearbox, and the next step is going to be to take off the cap for the gearbox. That way we can begin to drain it. I used a pair of pliers to take off this cap nice and easy. The top cap for the gearbox and the bottom drain bolt is extremely tight, so be very careful. Now that the cap's off, we can go ahead and open up the drainage plug. This bolt was really tight. Took me a while to get it loose. Now that we got that bolt loose, we can go ahead and unscrew it by hand and let it drain out. The manual for the Talaria says that you can get 120 milliliters to 150 milliliters of your oil into the gearbox. I drained 120 milliliters out of this gearbox and it was full to the brim when I opened it. So I ended up putting 120 millimeter back into the gearbox, which pretty much filled it back up to the rim. After that, we're going to go ahead and reinsert our plug and then tighten it back down. And now all we have to do is put our 120 millimeters of new oil back into the gearbox. I am using this 75W90 gear oil. This is not what the manual calls for. It calls for 85W90. This is what I had sitting in my shop, and it's close enough. It's not going to damage the gearbox. I will put a link down in the description to the proper gear oil that they recommend. So now it's time to fill up your gearbox with your new oil. I cut a hole at the tip of this bottle at an angle and it worked really well filling up the gearbox. Last but not least, we're going to screw in the oil cap. Make sure it's nice and tight. Thank you guys for tuning into this video. I hope you found it helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.